Natasha, and thank you so much for joining me today. Well, I often get asked, what can I do with my teeny tiny small scraps? And this is usually something along the lines of what I do with those, so I thought I would show you today. Now, I don't really have any teeny tiny scraps, very rarely do I keep them if they're teeny tiny, but I wanted to show you, I often have these pieces like this that are like half torn off. I've taken half a piece. These paper pads here have been absolutely invaluable for me, and I have loved using them, but they are coming to nearly the end, and so I do have more and more scrap pieces out of them. Now, I'm going to go with hearts today. This is the Honeybee Hearts Stacking Hearts, but obviously, any shape is good. Circles can be great too, even squares if you would like to cut them out with a craft knife. If you don't have dies, that is also going to work. Now, bear in mind that this actually could work for larger images too, larger die cuts. It certainly doesn't have to be small ones, but usually this is used for using up smaller scraps. Now, I want to show you an alternative as well. If you don't have scrap cardstock to use up, then you can also make this card in another way, and I will show you that today as well, just in case. So, I have got some mint tape, which is just a low tack tape, and I have put these 3 hearts just roughly. I am not one for measuring, and so I have just eyeballed, where they will go down my page, but I am going large, medium, and then small, and then I will change it up for the other direction. So I pop this down on my card panel. This is just a card front, so not a card base at the moment. Run that through your die cutting machine. Then I said I'm going to reverse it, and I will pop this through again, run it through again, and then I have these gorgeous hearts ready to go. Now, don't throw away those extra little hearts, because that is what we're going to use to show you the second technique. Now, just because I can never center things on cards perfectly, probably because I don't measure, I'm going to use my rectangle dies and then cut out these. Now, again, I'm just eyeballing, I don't measure, and I'm just going to cut these out. If you want to, you could just use a trimmer and trim them down. Same thing. Then all you need to do is get 2 of your colors put together. These could be contrasting colors, they could be one step away, they could be next to each other in the color wheel. These could be any colors. I'm choosing, similar colors in the same color family. It doesn't have to be perfect. There's no rhyme or reason. You could do rainbow if you wanted to. And I'm going to do 2 of these because I've got 2 of each heart, each sized heart. Now I'm having to cut my scraps down significantly because, as I said, I didn't have any tiny pieces of scraps. But just in case you like to save everything, or you have a specific paper pad or pattern or gel print or something that you just can't handle to throw away, that you can get a little bit more out of, then this is the perfect technique for this. So I just put a little piece of double-sided tape on half of it and then line it up. Just make sure they're sort of butted up next to each other so that there's no gap at all. And then this one here is for the teeny tiny heart, so it just needs to be really, really little. And then these are going to go in behind. Now, a couple of different ways that you could do this. You could either just pop this behind, and that is the easiest way that I'm going to do it. You could also, if you want to, you could cut them out with the same dies and do a die cut inlay technique and pop the heart in, and that way you would get an all 1 layer card. Now, for me, the energy was not worth it to go and die cut everything again. I'm happy with this way to do it, so all I do is put a little bit of glue behind it, and then I just, I'll line it up from the front so that the seam of the 2 colors together matches up with the center of the heart. You could have it go sideways, you could have it go skew with, you could even have, a fancy die, a border die to go down the center rather than a straight line if you wanted to. As per usual, the options are absolutely endless. If it comes out from over the edge, your excess cardstock from the back, then just trim it. That's okay too. All of mine were relatively small and so actually didn't really touch each other, which was fine. So this is so super simple. I pop some glue on the back, press it down for a second, and it is all set. That is one thing that this art glitter glue is very handy for. It sets up very fast. And so it does mean I can move on really fast. I really love my matte medium glue, and I certainly won't be getting rid of it because it gives me a second longer to adjust things. And I quite like that. We are going to turn these into finished cards today, but I did just want to show you an alternative in case you aren't into the scraps. Now, I have all those hearts that I die cut out earlier. If you want to, you can just die cut the plain shapes, of course, but I'm going to use some mint tape, some low-tack tape, just to mask off. You could use masking tape as well, or a post-it note, and mask off half of these and do 2 different colors. So it's going to, give the same appearance as what we did with the first one, but actually we're just going to do it with ink instead of colored cardstock. Now, I have put these all down on a piece of 4-inch mint tape as well, so you could either do that, or you could use your waffle flower grip mat, or put a little line of removable adhesive down on your paper, just something to hold that tiny little shape whilst you are inking. Now, I will say that this technique does lend itself to all sorts of things, because at this point, actually, whilst you're doing the inking, you could add on some rub-ons on top of the ink. You could add a stencil on top of each one, and you could do a lighter, a lighter layer of yellow, for example, and then come back over with the stencil and do a more heavier application of the ink, and that would give you a different tone of yellow on top through a stencil. That would be beautiful. I mean, the options are endless as to how creative you want to get. I'm showing you, the most basic of basic, but truly you can get very creative. Now, I'm going to do the die cut inlay technique with this one because it's easy as. It's only 6 little hearts to pop in place. I have got some double-sided tape run up along the back there, and then truly you just pop in the shapes. Now, I am going to finish off both of these cards for you today just to show you an idea of how we can finish them off. But of course, depending on what shapes you have, this is a very versatile technique, and as I said, good for using up tiny, tiny scraps. Now, because these cards have so much white space on them, I did feel like it needed a little bit of, a border, a color, something just to help it stand out. So I'm actually going to use the Mustard Seed Distress Oxide ink, which is one of the colors that I used on the hearts, and I'm going to use that to create a matting layer or border. There wasn't quite enough space that I could just go around the hearts. I didn't think. I thought it would look a little squishy, which is often what I usually do using some mint tape, and I just add the ink directly to the card front. But in this scenario, I've actually gone ahead and made another panel to do a proper matting layer. Then I did add an extra little bit of double-sided tape there just for security, one going the other direction. Add a little bit of liquid glue so I can still move it around, and then this is a gorgeous panel for a card base. I add this onto a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card base, and then we do need a little sentiment or a little something to go on the front. I'm just going to use one of my printable sentiments from my website, natashafootecreative.com. This is free and you can just download it and print it out while it is still there. And then I'm going to add a few little gems. Now these are like kind of perfectly flat sequins. These are from Simon Says Stamp. Now, this little mix is called the Mermaid Tail Embellishment Mix, but what I like about this is that these are very iridescent. So when I tilt them, they actually look yellow. They sort of pick up that color of ink next to them, but then when I tilt them the other direction, they look pink. So it actually worked out quite well. Now, this is where I'm going to finish off the second one. I just like this just for you sentiment. Have a look through your sentiments, see what will fit. You could put one right across the middle like I did with the previous card. I felt like this was just a nice little spot for a little bit of ink. I did go ahead and peel off all of that release paper. You probably don't need to do that. You could just add some more on top if you wanted to. Then I had some glue around the outside for a nice bit of security, and then pop this down onto a layer of pink cardstock. And I actually had a sheet left in that paper pad from scrapbook.com, and so I was able to just get a full sheet out of there, and that became the matting layer. So then I added some more of those beautiful sequins because again they just pick up the color that is next to them. Even the orange ones kind of picked up orange, so that was really easy, and pop them on nice and flat. These cards are very easy to go through the mail, and it uses up those beautiful little scraps. So I hope that you have enjoyed this one today. Thank you so much for joining me. Make sure you subscribe to this channel, and also let me know what you do with your teeny tiny little cardstock scraps. Do you keep them? Do you have a project in mind? Let me know down below. I'll see you next time. Bye.